Hey, what's up? Cool shit happening today. I'm gonna try and be quick because it's outside my work hours, and my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old they want mom time. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna make it fast. All right. So a lot of you guys have no idea about this part of my life, but it's really cool. My first foray into business, before I was a content creator, before I was a business consultant, before I trained people on how to build social brands, blah blah blah. How I got into even the business of content creation was that way back in the day, I used to be a celebrity makeup artist, which was wild. I love that part of my life, like super fun. Oh my God, thank you. Okay. Hola, I like your lip gloss color. You're welcome. Okay, this is what we're talking about today. So fun. So I used to be a celebrity makeup artist, and I loved that part of my life. It was wild. It was so fun. I have done hair and they call it men's grooming, but basically like kind of like makeup for camera for dudes, and then hair and makeup for women to the tune of like I did stuff for like the head of the CIA and like advisors to Obama and the founders of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and Square app and like Elon Musk. That was one of my people. Like I have full blown styled Elon Musk. Yes, like in person. He actually was like my I don't know if it was a wife or his girlfriend at the time, but he was like, my wife would love you or my girlfriend would love you. You should come to the house and style her. And like legitimately, I didn't even know who he was. Because the way that this worked back then was I used to do hair and makeup for this huge talent agency called WME/IMG, and they're like the talent house that signs like the hugest athletes, the hugest singers. Like Lady Gaga was there, and like Pharrell Williams was the only person I've ever been starstruck by in my whole life, and I've been around a ton of people. But when I saw him, I'm like, you are not human. He's an alien. He is an alien. His skin is so perfect. Oh my God, his zipper got stuck. He was wearing this really flamboyant, like amazing silk jacket with a zipper, and his zipper got stuck, and he asked me to fix his zipper, and I fucking froze. I froze. Anyways, so how my life was back then was for like 5 years, when I was living, in Miami and then in Southern California. WME would have me come in and style like dozens of people for this big event that they would do in Southern California. And the security on it was high because they would have like A-list celebrities, they would have athletes, they would have founders, like huge names, like presidential kind of people. Like Bill Clinton was there one time, and like he was on my list, but I wouldn't know who I was styling. So if you're tracking with me, just put a question mark in the comment section. Let me know that you have a pulse, because I love it when you guys interact with me. I freaking love it so much. By the way, we're celebrating 46,000 followers on this account as of like this morning. So thank you for that. I love you. Anyways, drop a question mark in the chat if you're tracking on this. So I was a celebrity makeup artist. I would get hired to do these gigs, and I wouldn't know who I was styling because the security was high. So I would show up, and production would basically have a green room for me, and I would come in, I would wheel in my bag, and I would set up all my little hair makeup stuff, and basically like production would hand me a paper, like a sheet of paper, and it was my like set list for the day, and it would just tell me like this is what time the person's gonna walk in, and then it would give like what they were talking on, because basically they would give like mini TED Talks at this event. It was so amazing. Because not only did I get to style these people, but then I got to listen to their talks, and I did this for 5 years. It was badass. So I would get this list, and I wouldn't know who the people were, and I didn't really have time to Google them, and just person after person would come in, and I was the only makeup artist there. Like it wasn't like a bunch of makeup artists like Fashion Week. It was like I was the one. So it would be me, that celebrity, their entourage, management, handler, whatever you want to call it, and their security team in some cases. And sometimes, depending on who it was, like one of my clients back then was Prime Minister Tony Blair. So like he came in, but before he came in, security came in and they like swept my makeup table just to like make sure I wasn't, I don't know, gonna hurt somebody. I'm like, I would never, but okay. So that was the level. It was me, the celebrity, their security team, some of their entourage, and that was it. So anyways, that was my life and it was fun. I had like over 75 different celebrity clients. Some of them were long-term. Some people I styled several times, like Ariana Huffington, who founded the HuffPost. I did her makeup several times. She's a dream. She has a daughter with the same name as me. I freaking love her. Like, I actually wrote about her in my post this morning. Because it was like little nuggets that these people would say to me that just impacted the trajectory of my entire life. And they probably don't even remember who I am. Anyways, I had like 75 different, celebrity clients. I ended up working New York Fashion Week. I ended up working on a bunch of movies, which was fun. I had billionaire clients that I would go style them in their homes. And then I met my current husband right now. I met him at a business conference because I was starting to really get interested in entrepreneurship. Because I had heard when I was a younger makeup artist, I went through this big mentorship. I have always believed in mentorship. Like I bought a $30,000 mentorship with a celebrity makeup artist when I was 22 years old. Like I just moved to LA, put myself through this mentorship. I took out a personal loan to do it. Anyways, so she had planted in me the idea that if you are a self-made makeup artist, so if you're live, right, self-made, just let me know that you're tracking. Let me know that you have a pulse. Let me know that, I'm not alone here. Anyways, right, self-made if you're tracking. So she was like, if you're a self-made makeup artist and you're really crushing it, you could make $1,000 a day as a makeup artist. Maybe $1,500 if you're really good. And she was teaching me things like set etiquette and how to deal with celebrities and blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was badass. And I had this secret goal inside of my head of being the type of person who makes $1,000 a day as a makeup artist in my industry. And I got that idea planted in me as a 22-year-old and I just never forgot about it. So all the way up to like when I was 28 years old and I was doing this full time, my goal was always to get beyond that number. So there came a point in my business where I was making like $1,800 a day. And I thought that was badass, but it was like few and far between. It wasn't like every day that would happen. And that's what got me interested into entrepreneurship. Because I was like, okay, how do I make a life where I can make $1,000 a day every day? Like, wouldn't that be grand? And so that took me into the realm of entrepreneurship. I started going to these conferences. They were kind of like Tony Robbins conferences, except they were led by a girl. So that was my first foray into business conferences. I met my current husband at one of those, and he really encouraged me, like why don't you start your own makeup company? And I really didn't know exactly what that looked like. If I can be totally honest, back when I was 22, another guy in my life, this kid Steve Caird, who I wish I could fucking find him. He was so rad. He was a high school friend of mine, and I remember talking to him on the phone at night when I lived in California and I was going through this mentorship, and he was like, you should develop a makeup line. And I was like, I don't know what kind of rocket scientist you think I am, but I don't know how to do that. Like me and making up a makeup line, I'm no chemist. I don't know why you think that I can do that. But I had, people in my life that would just be like, why don't you try? Like, why don't you get into it? So this wild series of events happened when I was like in my late 20s, where I had a girlfriend who was a massage therapist for like an NFL team. And I was already kind of like, I had incorporated my company. I was offering makeup classes. I was like certifying makeup artists. I had this like little business going. But I noticed this hiccup in my brand, which was back then, like I'm in my late 20s. I'm 39 now, just by the way. So this is a long time ago. But I was like 29, 30 years old and living in Los Angeles. And I started this company where I was like, hey, if you want to learn celebrity makeup artistry, I'm a celebrity makeup artist, I'll teach you. Oh, you bitch. Sorry. I was talking to the Wi-Fi, not you. It said pause due to poor connection. I'm like, you bitch. Anyways, so I was like, well, come out to LA. I'll teach you like makeup for camera work. So if you want to learn how to do brides, if you want to learn how to do makeup for TV, print, photo shoots, whatever, like I was kind of way ahead of my league. And I was offering these classes. But basically there's a hiccup in my business model, and it was this. I would charge people to teach them makeup, but then I would be sending them to go buy makeup from a different vendor. And same thing with my celebrity clients. Like I would do their makeup and they'd be like, God, I love this makeup. And I'd be like, yep, go to Nordstrom, get Makeup Forever, blah, blah, blah. Or, go buy this from NARS, get this from Makeup Forever, get this from MAC, right? So I was sending my clients somewhere else to source their makeup. And I got to thinking, why do I not become the source? So my husband and I were going through like a really deep time in our life where like money was tight because we were founders, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And we obsessively would watch shows like Shark Tank and like The Profit, not Prophet, but Profit, The Profit with Marcus Lemonis. I'm a huge Lori Greiner fan from Shark Tank. So we would just watch all these shows about entrepreneurship. And I just started Googling at night when I was bored. I'd be like, how do you manufacture a makeup line? And this wild series of events happened that I'm like, do you guys want story time? Do you want to know the actual events? If you want to hear the actual wild series of events that made me make a makeup line, write story time. Because otherwise I'm not going to spend the time. It was wild though. The way that this transpired was wild. Anyways, my girlfriend who was she was a massage therapist for an NFL team, in North Carolina. She reached out to me and she was like, sis, I'm going to put on a red carpet party, after party for the Super Bowl. And a bunch of my NFL players are going to be there and a bunch of their wives are going to be there. This is your shot. Why do you not stock the swag bags with your cards, your business cards, and why do you not put some makeup in there so that you can start doing these NFL wives over on the East Coast? Because she knew that I was thinking about moving from LA to the East Coast. And I was like, okay. So this is, okay, enough people said story time. I'm gonna tell you the real deal. All right, so meanwhile, I was trying to hatch a plan to move to the East Coast, and my girlfriend knew that, the girl who was the NFL, massage therapist. So she was trying to give me the hookup. Meanwhile, she was like, you have 6 weeks to put your shit together and get it in these swag bags for these NFL wives. And I was like, sis, heard, down. But then I was at home and I was just like, okay, how do you actually manufacture your own line? Because I didn't want to put someone else's makeup in the bag with my business card. I didn't want to be putting MAC and NARS and Makeup Forever in a bag and then trying to put my business card next to it. I was like, that doesn't make sense. I need to make my own line. So I found 5 different manufacturers that potentially I could have used. But the problem was, and if you're live, right, there's always a problem. Just write it in the chat. Just humor me, right? There's always a problem. The problem was, one was in China, one was in Canada, one was here, one was there, one was in California, one was blah, blah, blah. They were smattered across the globe. And I was like, I literally, I couldn't make it to all of these places in a week if I tried, and neither did I have the budget. So I was like, shit, what do I do? So I narrowed it down by looking through the websites and looking through ingredients and looking through their processes and looking at their timelines. And I was I narrowed it down to 3 different companies that I thought, maybe I could go through these guys and I could get this done fast. Who knows? And meanwhile, I had worked this gig with WME, who I was referencing before, where I would do 20, 30 celebrity makeups in a mini section of my life. And one of the clients, this was wild. Okay. I had been the only makeup artist on the set for 5 years. And then the last time that I worked with them, they had 3 or 4 makeup trailers. They weren't really makeup trailers, but they were they're high end. They're trailers for talent to be in, before they go out and give their talks. They're like a mini green room, and they're amazing. They're gorgeous. They're high end. There's like TV screens of like the green room and stuff, and it's wild. Anyways, so I got there and there was another hairstylist there, and I was like, "You bitch, what?" Like I was annoyed because I thought that I was the one, right? But they were like, I was like, "Hey," like I went over and shook hands, and I was like, "Hey, I'm Xtina. Like I'm the key for this." And she was like, "Well, they only brought me on because they actually needed a wig stylist, and like that's what I do." And I was like, "A wig stylist, okay, cool." But she had thought it was a woman's wig. It was not a woman's wig. If you guys watch SNL, what's the guy's name who he does the Bernie Sanders skit where they put a bald cap on him, and they put like a Bernie Sanders halo of baldness, but then like, you know what I'm talking about, you know, the haircut. Anyways, he's like one of the biggest talents from SNL. His name escapes me. He's been on there forever. And he was one of the people who we were styling that day, but he was doing a skit of Bernie Sanders. And this poor girl thought she was styling a woman's wig, and she did not know how to put a wig, like glue a wig on a dude. She didn't even have wig glue on her. I was like, "Girl, this is not that type of wig, honey. This is not a granny wig. Like, we're talking bald cap shit right now. We're talking FX makeup." So she like panicked in a way, because she was like, "I didn't know that this was what this was. I'm gonna get fired." And I was like, "Trust me." I was like, "Come here." So I grabbed lash glue, like single use, low adhesion. It's lightweight, right? And I handed her some, I handed me some, and I said, "Just follow me." And I was like, literally, don't say anything, because I didn't want her to get fired. I was like, "Don't say anything. Watch my hands. I'm going to do the left side. You replicate what I'm doing on the right side. We'll cover your ass. No one will know that you don't know what you're doing. Just copy me." And they'll think we're trying to tag team and go faster, and they'll appreciate that. But like, just let me help you. So we both walk into the trailer. What is that guy's name that plays Bernie Sanders on SNL? If you guys can help me with his name, I don't know why I'm blanking on it. But anyways, he's a huge celebrity. So we go in the makeup trailer. I do this side, and I'm like, you know, she does the other side. We nail it. And basically, you know, he did a skit. He came back. We took it off. It was a breeze. It's low adhesion, and it was fine. And she basically followed me back to my makeup trailer, and she was like, "You just saved my ass." And I was like, "You're welcome." Exactly. I'm blanking too. What is his name? Oh, Larry. I don't know. Anyways, I think he has like a Jewish last name. What is his name? It doesn't matter. It'll come to me. Maybe it won't. Anyway, so she follows me back to my makeup trailer, and she's like, "You saved my ass." Like I was going to get fired. And I was like, "I know." And I was like, "And also, come watch me. I'm going to tell them that you're shadowing me. I'm going to show you how to bill them for that so that you get paid for learning. And I'm going to show you the ropes of doing makeup for camera." Because she was like, I'm interested in what you do too. Like, I don't just want to do hair. Larry David, that is his name. I knew it was like a Harry or a Larry or something. David, Jewish. Okay, so I basically showed her how to bill them so that she could stay and shadow me. And by the end of it, she was just like, "I owe you big." She's like, "I want to invite you to this thing that I'm doing. It's in like Long Beach or whatever." And I was like, "Bitch, you understand LA traffic? There's no fucking way that I'm driving down to Long Beach from Manhattan Beach. Girl, we're not doing it." But I was like, "Thanks so much. That's so kind of you." And she was just like, "No, I'm a platform artist. I want you to come to this event. I'm doing platform artistry at it. Just come." And I was just like, "Thanks so much. But, you know, best of luck to you." And we parted ways. I think we swapped phone numbers or whatever. But I was like, you know, whatever. I'm never going to see this girl again. Just teamwork makes the dream work. Help a sister out. I always do for people what I wish somebody would have ever done to me when I was a younger makeup artist. I helped her out. I shook her hand. I was like, "Goodbye." So I go back to LA. Then my girlfriend, who was with the NFL team, she was like, "Hey, you should stock these swag bags. You have 6 weeks to pull a makeup line out of your ass." And I was like, ugh. So that took me to Googling all these manufacturers, which took me to calling one of them and being like, hey, like, I think I want to fly to another country and check out your manufacturing. And they were like, wait, where are you? And I was like, Manhattan Beach. And they're like, we're going to be in Long Beach next weekend. I said, what? They're like, yes, we are going to be at this international makeup cosmetology summit event. And I was like, that's the thing that the girl asked me to come to. So immediately I'm Googling it, and guess what I found out? Okay, this is wild. Yes, that was the event. I text the girl. I was like, hey, do you remember me? I helped you with the Larry David bald cap, the wig thing. And she was like, yes. And I was like, first of all, I was a new founder. I want you to hear this about business because people forgot about money in business. My first year in business, I went $60,000 in debt. I went backwards. I took a pay cut to start my company. I went from making $65,000 plus to going in debt $60,000 my first year in business. And I went from getting paid $65,000 plus to I only made $26,000 my first year in business. So entrepreneurship, the first little bit there, it can be a pay cut. You have to have balls, okay? I had lady lips to make it happen. Anywho's. So I really didn't feel like I had a bunch of spending money. I didn't really want to buy a $1,000 ticket to walk into this event. So I texted the girl and I was like, hey, can I still come to that thing with you that you told me about? She was like, yes, girl, I can get you a media badge. I'm going to sneak to the, see, this is what helping people does for you in life. She was like, I'm going to come meet you at the back door. I'll bring you a media badge, like a press badge. She fucking snuck to the door, put a press badge on me, snuck me in so I didn't have to pay. That was like, I bless that girl forever. And I got in there and it was like rows and rows. It was like the size of a football field in there of cosmetic vendors. And when I tell you all 5 of the companies that I had scouted, people from China, Asia, I could cry thinking about it. Like Canada, US, blah, 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 like New York, all these different cities, Miami, they were all in this place and it was the size of a football field. And I got to talk to every single manufacturer, tell them my needs, the first 6 products. I have chills down my legs telling the story. Yeah. I walked out of there having had meetings all day long. And I walked out of there with 5 product concepts and they shipped them to me by the Super Bowl party. I had my first 6 products in my hand. I smashed them in these bags with business cards. And when I tell you, I never heard anything back from a single one of those NFL players' wives. But what that situation did to me was it showed me that, number one, like, when you give yourself a deadline and you make moves, like, the universe rises to the occasion. God, angels, universe, ancestors, your guardian angels, whatever you believe in. Like, they will meet and match your energy if you go for it. So I was like, I have to pull this together. I'm doing it. And so I stashed the bags. The event was not that big of a deal. I met some cool people. I never heard back from a single person, but what it gave me was a makeup line. So from there, I literally moved from LA over to the East Coast. And I had thought, because of my resume, because my resume is badass. When you look at the people on my resume, it's like Elon Musk, like Sheryl Sandberg, the lean in lady, like Brene Brown, Esther Perel, founders of Instagram and Twitter, like head of the CIA, like fucking so many cool people. And I thought, because my resume was so badass, I thought, well, if I leave LA and come to Atlanta, like, I'm going to have no problem, getting in with a production company. And when I tell you, every fucking door was slammed in my face. Like, energetically, every time that I tried to go work in production, it was like, nope, we're not doing that. So I was like, okay, so I am basically a business founder. I am broke. I have left my entire client base. Now what? Now what? Have you ever had a now what moment? Have you ever had a, proverbially your back is against the wall and your plan A just burned to smithereens? That's where I was at. So this was 2016 and Facebook Live had just become a thing. And I was one of the early adopters. And I just started doing this really, to me, it was terrifying. It was cheesy. It was just like, whatever. I don't have an option. I have to make money. I started making these tutorial videos, and I would call them like XMH Beauty Live at 5. That was the name of my brand. From the day I incorporated this company, I was thinking mergers and acquisitions. I was thinking I'm going to call it XMH Beauty because it could be Expert Makeup Headquarters, even though XMH is my initials actually. I was like, if it was XMH for Expert Makeup Headquarters, like a celebrity makeup artist led brand, if it was ever acquired by like L'Oreal or something like that, like it wouldn't have my name on it, so I don't have to be the face of it anymore. Like I was thinking business from the day that I started this thing. Anyways, I started going like live at 5 every Wednesday and doing these makeup tutorials. And I did it for like years. Like when I say a live video every Wednesday for like years, that's how I made my first $1 million in business. I'm not a business trainer who's never run a business. I built a business from the bottom up with very little experience, a cell phone, a laptop, and courage. And that little makeup line that I started to smash in, swag bags for a red carpet party ended up becoming something that had over 200 successful sold out launches for hundreds of clients, and the average client lifetime value was over $2,000. So people would buy a single product from me and end up being like with me for years. They love the culture, they love the education piece, because like every product that I launched, I did a tutorial video on it. I'm like, here's how you actually use this in real time. And also, if you're wearing this for everyday wear, this is what you do with it. If you're doing makeup for print and film or like bridal or fashion, here's what to do with it. And I took people from knowing nothing about makeup. Like I had a lot, I felt like I attracted kind of like 3 key people. I felt like I attracted like trophy wives, like no shit. It was just, it is what it is. I attracted a lot of women who were married to wealthy guys and they were at home with the kids. So I had a lot of trophy wives. That was cool. I had a lot of entrepreneurs and I had a lot of social sellers. Like that's who I attracted initially. And it ended up being a thing where they wanted to know everyday wear, they wanted to know makeup for camera, and that was my first $1 million in business. So I created this whole huge line, and then, so if you're live, right, and then, and then, in 2019, I hired a business coach, and she was like a breath of fresh air. She was a fresh breath of life for me. She was also a mom. Like I am a mom now. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm surprised they're not screaming outside the sunroom right now. That's cool. Thank you. Thank you to my husband. She was a mom. She had done about $50 million in revenue over the span of her career. And I saw a YouTube video of her talking about, building an aligned brand. And I was like, I have to work with this lady. So I wired her, a perfect stranger, $12,000, my entire life savings up to that point, and she coached me for about 4 months in business. And I thought that we were going to expand my makeup company. So I literally started working with her so that I could, I think I was making maybe like somewhere between $150,000 and $300,000 when I started working with her, like per year. So like every year I made more and more and more. I never have had a year where I went backwards. Like my first year in business was like 26,000. Then my second year in business was like 52,000. And I think my third year in business was like 150,000. And it just kept on going up every year. So by the time that I was working with her, I wanted to scale this thing. I was like, I want to know how to work smarter, not harder. Like, what am I not seeing? And she kind of looked over my shoulder at my business and looked at everything. She looked at my pricing, my offers, my launches, the culture, the community. And she was like, what you have done with the followership that you have, which was like just a few hundred clients, and how it would go from buying one product to then buying thousands of dollars of product and telling all their friends about it. She was like, what you've done here is an anomaly. And I know it's powered by social media, but like other companies need to know how to do this. Why are you not training other businesses on the proper use of social media sales? And I was like, didn't know I could do that. Like, do you need a certification to do that? Like, you can do that? She's like, yeah. She goes, tell me the 12 things that I would need to do to get where you are. And I was like, you do this, 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 this. She was like, that needs to be a mastermind. And I'm like, really? And in 2019, that's when my business segmented for the first time. From just being on-camera beauty, 200 successful product launches, all my, I don't know, my little micro cult following that bought everything I launched, to then someone being like, you need to teach people online marketing. Like, you are a beast. I was like, okay, I will. So we did it. Yeah, that's exactly right. Who said that? Someone watching live was like, she said that was so valuable. Yeah, someone said, I thought you went backwards $60,000 your first year. I did. I went in debt $60,000 my first year in business. The revenue in my company was $26,000, but my net debt was still $60,000 at the end. So we were like living on 26 grand that year in Los Angeles. You can't live on that. We went backwards, girlfriend. I had 60 grand in debt that year. Anyways, yes, that's true. So we segmented the company. And so between 2019 and 2020, I literally had like 2 directions I was running, and it was kind of a challenge because on the one hand, we had hundreds of clients that were like, when's your next launch? What are we doing? I need more of this. When's the next thing happening? And I was just like, okay, I'm trying to keep up with that. I also had a baby in the process. I had baby Sloan. And then I also had done this business mastermind, and I honestly thought it was a huge failure. Like, it was uncomfortable. I thought I sucked at it. I thought I was a horrible leader. And at the end of the year, I had people from that mastermind reaching out and being like, hey, I ended up making an extra $86,000 this year. And one of them was a real estate agent. She was like, I made an extra $86,000 in my real estate company, and I only half-assed did what you told me to do. And I was like, heard. Okay. Then another one of those clients came back to me, and she was like, you know how I told you I wanted to make 6 figures more this year? I did it. And I was like, shit, okay. Maybe I'm not bad at this. So between 2019 and 2020, we had a big and then. So if you're live, right? And then. I'm running 2 businesses. I'm trying to figure it all out. And the pandemic happened, and we had a supply chain interruption. So I had these hundreds of clients who wanted the beauty thing from me. I had a handful of people that wanted business stuff from me. And then I had our manufacturer email me and say like, we're so sorry, Miss Harmsworth, we cannot fulfill your order. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, do you mean like in a few weeks you'll be able to? Is it just like temporary? And they're like, literally, we source our packaging parts from Germany. We source some of our ingredients from, because it was a EU approved brand, which that's a whole different thing about, it's a whole conversation about toxins. But I had made this whole company to be on the European standard. Because when it comes down to makeup, there's like, several thousand toxins that are banned in makeup in the US. And then in Canada, it's like say it's like 6,000 in the US, it's like 13,000 in Canada. And then in Europe, it's like 26,000 or some shit. It's just, then don't quote me on the numbers, but it's a lot more. Like the standard is way higher in Europe. So I was using a manufacturer that was on the European standard, and they were like, listen, like our supply chain is interrupted and we can't even get the ingredients to make your stuff. So we don't even know when we can send you more makeup. And I was like, oh. Because at that time, I had a 4-month-old. My husband's job had been downsized. And so it was me and my husband. Our nanny and our office manager quit because when the pandemic happened, they got scared and they wanted to go home. We're like, go. So it was me and my husband and our infant. And I was the breadwinner. And our manufacturer was like, we're so sorry. And I was like, okay, cool. So in 2020, I 100% pivoted the company. I was like, all right, I'm doing social media training. That's it. I'm going to teach people how I got to my first 100K in business, my first $250,000 in business, my first $1 million in business. Like, that's all I'm going to do. And I went all the way in on it. And since then, I did that right after I had my first daughter. I've since had one more baby. She's actually turning 3 in August, which is wild. But in like the last 5 years, I think we've made somewhere between $3 and $4 million doing what I'm doing. So I'm so grateful for that, because that first $1 million business taught me how to do what I do today and be even better at it. But then the pressure came on, because remember those several hundred clients that were like, they had a cult following for any makeup that I launched. We had this contour palette that I had developed. If you're live, right, contour palette. I had developed a contour palette, and it was my signature palette. It was from back in the day when I was styling all these celebrities. There were like 6 pots of color that I would buy over and over and over from like Makeup Forever and NARS. And the same 6 colors worked to sculpt a face, whether you were young or old, whether you were like white or brown, whether you were slender or not, like just these 6 colors worked on everyone. And I had learned this from my makeup mentor when I was 22. Like, she taught me contouring to the gods. Anyways, before contouring was cool, she was contouring. Anyways, so I had made this signature contour palette, and it's refillable. So I got people hooked onto this contour palette like it was crack back in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And so the heat has been on, because when I switched over to business mentorship and training people to grow their brands, I still have people in my inbox that are like, bitch, where's my makeup? They're like, I am out of my XMH Beauty foundation. You are killing me. You have made me resort to a department store. I am cheating on you, Xtina. I hate this for me. I need my contour refills. I need my shit. And like, the pressure has been hot, not gonna lie. So I had this like identity crisis, I would say, at the end of last year, because I felt like I couldn't hold both of the brands. Like, I felt frustrated that I didn't have the time, the passion, the intention to even talk about beauty. I was just like, I can't, like, it's going to confuse my audience. When you see someone who's like diligently talking about building multi-million-dollar brands, and then the next day they're talking about makeup, you're like, what are you doing? Like, do you agree? Like, when people come out of left field hawking products, you're like, what is this, right? And I was like, I need to actually go deep and niche down and get my audience to where I want it to be, and it can't be both companies. I have to pick. Like, that is one piece of advice that I would say to anyone who's really wanting to build an audience. Just by the way, this particular account only had like 3,000 followers, 3,800 back in January of this year. And if you haven't noticed, we're up to 46,000. But that's because I had the courage to pick. I didn't chase 6 things, I did 1, right? And so my choice was, I wanted to focus on business, and that was it. But then in January of this year, I was down in Florida. We went and we lived at the beach, like 30A for the winter. Freaking amazing. Best choice I could have made. We lived in like a $8 or $10 million property, waterfront access. Fucking awesome. That was such the best idea. And I was down on the beach, and I kind of had this like awakening while I was down there. I was getting ready to have probably 11 clients fly in. We had a photography team, we had a videography team. Emma, who was part of the XMH office back in the day, I trained her on hair and makeup back in the day. She's now a full-blown stylist. She's crushing it. Emma came down to the beach, and she did everyone's hair and makeup for their shoots. And I had planned out shoot concepts and creative directed for 11 of my clients. And I worked with them many of them for months, planning out, what kind of thought leadership content they would have, and like creative directing and planning out their outfits. So I planned their wardrobe, their color palettes, their poses, like all the artistic direction for these shoots. I did all of it. And in the process of doing that, I kind of was falling back in love with my roots. And I was like, I was putting together these brand kits. So if you're live, write brand kit, BRAND kit. So for each client who came down to shoot with me in Florida, we were making them some content banks, which that's how I do a lot of the work that I do on the internet. Is like I bank a lot of content in like a week or a few days, and then I use that content for months. Like some of my most viral content that's still getting plays today, I filmed it last year in October, right? But it takes work to actually show up for something like that, and a part of it is a brand kit. And so I have the eye to basically work with a client. So for example, one of my clients is watching live. Let's see, her name is Diamond Eye Designs. She's a baddie. She's going to be here tomorrow to shoot. So say it's my client Chell. She's Diamond Eye Designs. What happens over the course of working with a client is I get to know their energy, their energetic signature, what offers they have, what price points they're at, who they're going to serve. And then once I get to know them, because I've had 20 years of experience in the beauty field, I can literally just look at somebody and I actually can see their archetypes. So having styled thousands of faces and worked with Hollywood and New York Fashion Week and whatever, like I can look at somebody and I can name off like 3 people in Hollywood that are a similar archetype. So similar bone structure, similar posture, similar like composition of color. And so I basically lean in and I'm like, okay, so here's some archetypes that are already iconic that we can actually like look at their signature. And then from there, I go into the quantum field. And this is where, you know, it becomes the woo girl of business. But I literally go into the quantum field and I lean into like, I feel like everyone in business has like different paths. And I feel like when I work with a client, it's like me and them walking down the beach together and we're just talking. And I'm hearing their life story and I'm hearing their desires and who they are and why they got into what they do and what their aspirations are, right? And I have chills on my legs saying this. It's so good to me. And I can always see a version of them that's like 5 years out. And it's almost as if the person like splits. And there's a version of them that if they did nothing different, that they would walk a straight line down that beach forever. But then I can also feel into the quantum field and I can see them at their most expressed self. I can see them stepping into like an icon. I can see the wardrobe. I can see the body movement. Sorry for the shirt. Like I can see the poses. I see the coloring. I see the shapes. I see the silhouettes of the clothing. Like I can see it all in my head when I'm working with a client, and I can literally see their future like 8-figure business person in the quantum field. And aesthetically, my job is to pull it in. So I put together these brand kits with Dana on my team. And it's everything from like the fonts, the coloring. I pick out a color palette for their entire company. Then it's leaning into the copywriting. I've been a professional copywriter for like a decade. So then I go into the copy of like their brand image, their brand tone, what I want the videographer and the photographer to know about them. Like what are we pulling forward when this person gets on camera? Then I go into like poses. Like I give the production team like this is what we're after. Then I go to wardrobe and I pull wardrobe, like all the design images. I pass that to a stylist. They make it clickable so they can basically send a list to the client, right? And source everything. And by the end of it, we get together and I do this twice a year. It's called Executive Retreat. And I'm basically pulling in 20 years of experience of doing aesthetic work for A-listers and billionaires. And then also my own multi-million-dollar understanding of online business and what that takes. And we marry the two and create a content bank together. And when I was doing this for these clients, I was like, I don't actually have to pick the work that I do with brand and with helping people bring their expression to life in the online space, the aesthetic part of it in my beauty company, it actually touches. And in fact, when we do these executive retreats and we do full-blown brand design for a client, they're getting XMH Beauty put on them for every stitch of the shoot. So I had like put an energetic pin in my beauty company because I was like, I don't feel like I have the bandwidth to talk about both, and I also don't want to confuse people. So I just stopped talking about it. I put a pin in it. We actually shut the whole website down. Like there wasn't even an option to buy it, and people were getting really like frantic in the chat. They're like, I need my stuff. I'm running out. You're driving me insane. So this is what happened. My team and I got together this past, couple months, and we decided, especially because I'm doing a retreat this week, I have 6 or 7 clients flying in to do this process with me on a smaller scale over the next 3 days. We decided we're just gonna fuck with it. And we turned the website back on. We turned the beauty site back on today. So here's the vibe. Am I gonna start doing makeup videos on this channel? No, probably not. Probably not. I feel complete with that part of my life right now. But I think I'm gonna start showcasing more of what we do with our clients, and maybe I'll put like a makeup breakdown and I'll say these are the shades that this person was using, blah blah blah. Like my whole getup today, it's all XMH Beauty. Never stop using it. I use the contour palette still every day of my life. In fact, this entire fucking look is brought to you by the xmhbeauty.com contour palette. Yes. The under eye brightener, the contour, the bronzer, the highlighter, yes queen, the brow fill, it's all in the palette. Like it's all in a single palette. So it's live. If you are someone who is a previous client and you have been like, bitch, give me my stuff. Here's the curveball. There's a little curveball. There's a curveball. Okay, right, the curveball. Here's the curveball. Here's what I'm not bringing back. I'm not fucking with that manufacturer that left me in the dust during the pandemic. We're not doing it. So I actually went back to my celebrity makeup artistry roots, because back in the day when I was doing all my celeb stuff, I used 2 kinds of foundation. One was Makeup Forever, which that stuff for me is commodogenic. It will break me out. Like their HD makeup is amazing on camera, but it is not amazing for my extra large pores out here. Sister, brother, listen. So we're not going Makeup Forever. If you go on the site right now, there's a shade chart, and it's basically a guidepost of if you used to be a C25 in my formulation of makeup, there's a chart that tells you what shade to get from Glow Skin Beauty, which is a dermatologist grade line that I have been using since like 2011 off and on, 2013 off and on. And I fell straight back in love with them over the winter. When my own stuff was running out, I was like, we're going back to our roots. So that's the curveball. If you are totally in love with our foundation, concealer, pressed powder, and you're like, I know my shade, just go on the chart and get the suggested one. There's a little bit, there's a couple still pieces of XMH Beauty formulation. If you love that one, go grab the ones that are in stock because they're gonna go. But yeah, if you're an established client, you know how to shop the site. Put your shade in the search bar, it'll populate. If you've never, and you are a virgin to the XMH House of Beauty, you can DM me if you have questions. But basically, here's what I'll say. Go on the site. The brushes are makeup artist quality. They're the shit. They are teddy bear soft. They do not shed. They're fucking rad. The contour palette is to die for. It's an instant yes. And over the years, I had probably done hundreds of makeup tutorials from the perspective of a couple different things. From the perspective of celebrity makeup, but also I had like a little bit of an awakening when I had this makeup company. So if you're live, right, an awakening, and here's what it was. I had this beauty brand and I was obsessed with teaching beauty. And then I had a daughter. I had my daughter Sloane, and there was a day when she was an infant that I had an actual awakening about self-worth. Basically, I'm holding this little baby. The makeup line was, we were about to get the news of our lives about this makeup line and not be able to even do it anymore during the pandemic. I'm holding this baby and I'm looking at my sweet daughter, tiny little Sloane, and I had this moment of being like, my God, like, I love this human so much that if she never did anything for the rest of her life of value to society, I could not stop loving her. And it was in that moment that I was like, I don't give a shit if she ever wears makeup. I don't care if she becomes some kind of a biologist and goes and lives in a fucking tree and that's her job. Like, nothing about her could make her more worthy in my eyes. And so I lost respect for makeup for a season. And I had this thing where I couldn't tell women to even put makeup on. Like, something broke in me. And I literally had to heal that part of me of thinking that your makeup has anything to do with your worth, because I felt like I had preached that for a season of put makeup on, you'll feel better, you'll be more respected. And I'm like, and also there's a level to love that if my daughter grows up and she hates makeup, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. And once that part of me healed, I guess, I stopped talking about makeup as performance, and I stopped talking about makeup as adding to your worth, and I stopped talking about makeup as something that like beauty as something that makes you more valuable. I actually started seeing makeup as a ritual, because to me that's what it feels like. I'm very into somatic work, just behind the scenes of my life. I'm very into things that help your nervous system to relax. And beauty for me is one of those things that if I spend time calming down and I have a ritual to how I do beauty, that's when it really lands for me. It's not this thing about performance and smashing makeup on or whatever. It's not that for me. So I stopped doing these makeup tutorials that were just strictly functional, and I started making makeup tutorials that are actually from a somatic beauty ritual place. It's a place of, it's a place of self-care. It's a place of calming yourself. It's a place of centering yourself. It's actually not even about the end result of what it looks like. It's about relaxing in, enjoying your beauty, using all 5 senses. And so there's a collection of tutorials on there called The Frequency of Beauty that cost me $30,000 in production to make it. And so if you want a different way of seeing beauty, it is pretty cool. So that's on the site too. So yeah, if you need tutorials alongside your beauty and you're a virgin to my brand and you feel aligned to having that conversation with me about the brand aesthetic and the person behind the brand, hey, the doors are wide open. Am I going to talk about this 24/7? No. But if you were one of those clients who was I need my stuff, well, the site is up. You're welcome. So that was a story time about how I made my first $1 million, the beauty brand, why we put a pin in it, the feeling of being back in it because I'm doing all these photo shoots and brand design for clients. Yeah. Oh, Christina, thank you. She said they're wonderful videos and so special. Thank you so much, girl. So yeah, the doors are open on it. I'm probably not going to feature it 24/7 on this account, but just it's another pin in my business. Okay. Love you guys too. Thank you for the handful of clients that I'm going to see live in person tomorrow. I'm so excited. Yeah, we're going to have a blast shooting this weekend. And for all of you who are not going to be with us shooting your content banks and your brand stuff, I'll try to document it as well as possible in my stories so you can see what we're up to. So that's it for tonight. The website is xmhbeauty.com. It's expert makeup headquarters, so xmhbeauty.com. If you feel like shopping, great. If you hate makeup, fine. You're still worthy. I still love you. But if you want to shop this look, it's the contour palette. Yeah, the Exponential Beauty contour palette. I'm fucking obsessed with the lash primer, and it's a water resistant mascara. I wear it every day of my life. I have for like years. What else? This color is called Prevail. It's a lip lacquer called Prevail. So yeah, that's what it is. That's all. Thanks for hanging out for story time. Love you guys. See you soon. Wish us luck on our shoots this weekend. It's going to be so fun.